All right, guys, we're starting the year off big. 1,200 horsepower. Every dollar you spend at lsnasty.com will get you entered to win. .1,200 horsepower turbo Trans Am, 91mm turbo, 388 cubic inch LS on Holley EFI, built 400, built rear end, Viking suspension. This thing is a true muffin cap peeler. Thing is nice.
It's very nice.
And I said I'm gonna give it away, so that's what we're gonna do. What do you guys think? What do you think, David?
This is a nice car. I think this is the best one yet.
Best one yet?
Yep, best one yet.
All right, I saw a couple people in the comments say, hey, like, what's the build on the car? What's the setup on the car? So we're gonna go over this thing front to toe, sorry, head to toe, front to back, and give you guys a good rundown on this guy.
Yep. This is the Trailblazer was my favorite. I thought that was a pretty badass giveaway, but
Just top it?
This tops it, man.
So this one is like a little bit of the Trailblazer and a little bit of brown sugar.
Yep.
So this one is very streetable, real deal street car, turbo LS, and it's a Trans Am. You guys know I love my F-bodies. WS6 Ram Air, Trans Am, you really can't beat it. So I ended up picking this car up down in Texas, and we've done some little things here and there. I ran it at the track once, and with running out of fuel with the smaller injectors on it and a couple little odds and end things that were kind of going wrong, we went a 570 with it at like 130 some mile an hour. Since then, we've done some upgrades to it, and we're going to continue to do upgrades along the way to make sure that this is quite possibly the best giveaway, well-rounded every aspect. So you guys can come, whoever wins it, can pick it up, pull some wheelies, drive it on the street, do some no prep racing with it. This is like the jack of all trades as far as the giveaway goes. So as you can see, first look at it, it is just a nice white 2002 Trans Am WS6. It's got the Ram Air hood like we said, so it looks sharp. It's got the wing on the back, and just like every other F-body, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, it's a little beat up. It's got a little bit of paint fade on there, but it's okay because this thing is going to be your tool.
Well, it's so fast the clear coat can't hang on.
Thank you. There it is. It's literally, if we go too fast, we might not have any clear coat left, so we won't turn it up all the way. The car itself drives really good. It's got power brakes, it's got power steering, which I think on something like this, a turbo LS car, is somewhat of a rarity. Me personally, I prefer manual brakes and just a manual steering rack, but for someone that's never driven something this fast, someone that wins it that is not really looking to kind of like muscle that thing around or be like as, you know, immersed in the driving experience as, you know, the manual brakes, I prefer it because that's what I'm used to in the race cars. But I'd say for a street car, that's the way. 9 times out of 10, people don't really enjoy the manual brakes, manual steering. Yeah. So this thing right there, you hop in that thing and you turn it with one finger, you put your big toe on the brakes and the thing stops like a gem. As you guys can see, the wheel and tire setup on it, just like every single F-body we've ever had. Nice drag pack. This one's sporting the Race Stars. 26x4, 17 Mickey Thompson front runner on there. Brand spanking new, just put those suckers on. In the back, of course, you're running a 15x10 rim with a 275 Radial Pro. This is the same tire we've run on the Sheep, same tire that's on Slick Rick. It drives really good on the street, but it goes very, very, very good at the track. Sub 1 second 60 foots on that tire. That tire's everything you guys are looking for. With that 15x10 wheel and tire combo, you guys can run like a 28, 10.5 slick and do no prep with this if that's what you like. Like I said, jack of all trades. Before we start talking about the power management, the ECU, the turbo, the driveline, any of that, I want to talk about this cage for a second. This thing right here is a pretty badass cage. For those of you guys that are not big F-body guys, not big F-body fans, don't really understand the F-body lifestyle, you guys don't really appreciate how nice it is to have a cage in here and have the complete door unmolested. 9 times out of 10, this door bar goes straight through right where this intersects, and boom, you got to cut it out, and then the door's all floppy, and it just looks like ass. Well, this thing does not look like ass. The cage has a nice kick in here, still a bunch of room for the seats. It's got a pretty wide passenger seat and a pretty wide driver's seat. Right now I just got some padding on there, so it's set up for someone the size of David, or with some padding, you know, my size. If you guys look at the cage here, the T-tops still go in and out. It's got nice roof structure, a crossbar, your parachute handle hangs from it. It's all tabbed out nice, and then it's got this extra bar going down right here with your harness bar on it. This cage is set up more of like a 25.5 style cage. The floor structure on this car is awesome. It's got a bunch of floor structure, which really makes the chassis very rigid, which is exactly what you need when you're drag racing. You don't want that thing flexing at all. You want it to be rigid. So the cage is not what meets the eye on this thing. It's beautiful underneath. It looks very good. If you were to put this up in the air and put the Bad Apple up in the air, they're very, very similar in chassis spec. Whoever wins this, let's say you want to turn this thing into a full-blown race car, all you have to do is add a funny car cage, and then you have a 25.5 cert chassis. That's a very big deal. The Cow, for example, is an 850 cert cage. If I wanted to make it like this to be like one step away from a 25.5, it would take a large amount of work. So the chassis on this thing, the cage is badass. And if you look at the fitment too, the fitment up here, which is like, you know, telltale sign of how the cage is, look at how nice and high and tight that is. Can't even stick a finger in there. It's got the gussets on there. I mean, it is very nice. When you take the T-tops out, it looks like it's hanging real low, but I mean, look at this right here. I mean, you can't even stick a finger in there. That's how nice and tight the cage is. So everywhere you look, the cage is great. I got zero complaints about it. The car itself is, chassis wise, is extremely nice and will allow anyone with whatever power plant to go very, very fast. So let's go up here to talk about the engine. Now, we bought this thing turnkey, and then we just kind of like did a little fixer-upper to it. LS, of course, as you guys can see, it's looking pretty good. It's got your full accessory drive on there, no heater AC, but you're not going to need that where we're going here. It's a 388 cubic inch, all forged LS with a set of PRC heads on there. So top to bottom, front to back, this thing is a badass. 1200 horsepower, mild on something like this. You guys look at something like Hank, where we're making 1600 horsepower with stock heads with very, very, very entry-level parts. This is leaps and bounds better than that engine just off of a parts list. I mean, you can just look at the heads on there. Everything is just a little one step above. So horsepower capabilities, I'd say an easy 1600 if you want to push it. Right now we got it turned up where it's making, you know, that 22 to 25 pounds of boost is that 1200 horsepower range. It's got the power steering, like I said. It's got the factory style water pump. It's got a big ass radiator with fans. The fans are on a switch, so don't forget that. We even labeled it. It says fans, so you can't miss that. Obviously it's got this big ass turbo strap to it. This is a VS Racing 91 millimeter turbo, S400 chassis, 91. I mean, this thing horsepower capability wise, I mean, we're talking about that 1500 horsepower capable. So if you really want to turn it up, you can make plenty of power. The cool thing about this turbo on this car is it spools good. It's on E85, so you know it drives the turbo pretty good, but the turbo sounds awesome whenever you're driving it. This big ass turbo is screaming. You could hear it spooling up, you could hear it making boost. When you let off the throttle, you hear that blow off valve open it up, and it just sounds absolutely sick. So the turbo is set on a Huron Speed T6 turbo kit, and then the cold side is a custom cold side air-to-air intercooler, which is very nice. Very, 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 very low maintenance as far as going out, driving this thing on the street and racing it. Very similar setup to the Cow, so you're talking about spark plugs every 6 months. You're talking about just throw some oil in there every once in a while.
6 months?
Yeah, 6 months. You can go a year. I don't want to like make it seem like you guys have to work on this a lot. This is why we like giving away turbo cars. No one wants a nitrous car where they're sticking plugs in that sucker every single time they're at the track.
Every pass.
You put plugs in the thing once a year with the tune-ups that we'll give you, they will be spot on the money. So speaking of tune-ups, engine management on this, Holley EFI. It's got a Holley Terminator Max set up on there with a built 400. So the Terminator Max is set up to run transmission control, but this has a manual valve body transmission. So if for some reason whoever wins this says, hey man, I don't want to have to shift this thing anymore, you can add an air shifter to it. But even if you don't want to do all of that and you want to put a 4L80 in there, the ECU can control the transmission, which is a very nice touch. That's a big upgrade. You're talking about like going from a $1,200 ECU to like a $1,800 ECU just to add the transmission control. So it does have it. We did just throw a new set of injectors in there. It's got some Bosch 210s, which are very nice horsepower capability wise. Really anything you want to do on E85. You'll max out the injectors. It's time to step up to methanol where you need some billet atomizers anyways. Very similar, you know, ECU, injector setup and turbo setup to Hank and to Brown Sugar. So you guys know where it'll be horsepower capability wise. Anything else I'm missing under here, David? I mean, it's just a well put together car at this point.
Yeah, it is.
If we go back here, we got the, I guess the interior, you could say we got some impact belts, which are very nice 5-point harnesses. These are the 2-inch width, so they're very comfortable to drive around with on the street, and also they fit into the Hans very good. We got a Hirsch shifter. It's a built 400 reverse manual valve body. So you guys are going to be able to be shifting that thing. Holley 7-inch dash as well, which is a nice upgrade. I think this is the first car I've given away with a big ass Holley dash, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous about that dash, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think everything else I've given away has had the little Terminator dash.
Disclaimer, so, whenever somebody picks it up, it might only have a 3.5 in it.
My man David's gonna damn cop that real quick. You better get this at the parking lot quick. So the Holley dash, I mean, that's a big, I don't even have a dash in Hank.
No, you don't.
Hey, maybe you ain't getting a dash, you know? No, I'm just kidding. We'll leave the dash here. You guys can have the dash. CO2 boost control with the Holley, so it's got a CO2 bottle in there, regulator, MAC valves, all of your tuning and everything's done right through the Holley, which is very nice. You don't have an AMS 2000 on this where you got to mess around with that and then tune over here. The Holley does everything. Your launch strategy, your two-step, your CO2 boost control, your power management, everything like that. It's got closed loop correction, so you guys can go out there and have some fun, enjoy it. And like I said, Matt's going to be tuning on it. I messed with the tune up a little bit and got it to where it's running good now. Whoever was tuning this thing down in Texas, I'm going to be honest with you, you suck. I'm not a tuner and I got this thing running, like, how much better does it run now?
Definitely.
Yeah, so once Matt gets on the keyboard and really gets this thing dialed in, it's going to haul ass and it's going to run really good. I think I got it running pretty good now. So Matt, I made your life pretty easy. Let's talk about the cage back here. No keyless entry on this guy, okay? You don't lose these.
Got a nice parachute.
Look how nice that cage is. And people are out here really talking smack about the cage. That is a very, very, very well put together car.
Yeah, it's nice.
Cage is nice, fits good. You still got a whole trunk. You can still put your T-tops back here. It's got a parachute mount, which is tied right into the cage. A Stroud 430 parachute. And let's not forget about the rear end. It's a Strange S60 rear end. So very, very, very beefy rear end. And as you guys can see, I mean, that thing's a unit right there. It's got all the brackets on there. It's got a nice big anti-roll bar on there, which we may upgrade if we run into some issues, but I don't think that will be any issues. And then it's also got an adjustable panhard bar. So it's got all the stuff front to back, head to toe that you guys need to go fast. And someone's going to win this. So all you guys need to do to win is go over to lsnasty.com, and every dollar you spend gets you entered to win this badass Turbo Trans Am, the crispy chicken. We got some stuff up there, which is the past collections, which until they're out of stock is double entries, and we're launching our Nasty Co brand. We got Nasty Racing and Small Tire Outlaws. So we have a whole different variety of shirts, different styles, car related, not car related, anything that you guys can think of, we got it. So go over to lsnasty.com, get entered to win.